Okay, y'all. Listen, I'm just going to start with this. If booked and busy, I am booked and busy. Shout out to one of my candles from my candle line was a person, it would be me. And I'm going to self-proclaim that for myself because I've also heard from a lot of other people, again, if booked and busy was a person, it would be Ace. And what's really exciting about being booked and busy is that I've spent most of my life, and I think I actually talked about this, how I was born with a to-do list. And I came out of the womb April 15th, 1983, baby. I had shit to do. And it's funny because this is also part of my mother's making, where she kept us nice and booked and busy when we were growing up in Baltimore. And instilling that when we moved to Atlanta, where I had always, every weekend, we had something to do, some sort of extracurricular activity. I think it mainly was, it was inspired from, especially in Baltimore, making sure that we just weren't outside getting in trouble, because it was real easy. As my mom says, idle hands is the devil's workshop. Where it's like, you're bored. Okay, that's not good. Let's get you doing something. And so I remember growing up in Baltimore, playing outside with my cousins and my friends and running up and down the street and, falling a bunch of times, getting like scars on my knees. And I remember I was roller skating down this alley, like chasing a boy, and I fell on a piece of glass and I cut my leg, and I had to go get stitches. And that was like a pretty wild experience. My mom wasn't home, so her ex-husband, my stepdad at the time, he was like sleeping, and so I had to wake him up, and he had to go to the hospital, and he was like, "Why were you roller skating in an alley?" I was like, "Because why wouldn't I be roller skating in an alley? It was a cute boy down there that I was like trying to go after." And I'm starting this way because being booked and being busy and filling my time became a coping mechanism shortly after my mother died. And so it was one of those things where it was like, if I just fill my time, if I just do all the things, if I just keep myself busy, I won't have to think about missing my mother. If I fill my time and keep myself busy, I won't have to think about all the ways in which I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm actually saying yes to a lot of things that I really want to say no to because I don't want to be alone. So here we are today with today's episode, how to authentically say yes to yourself and how to mean what you say and make it a full body, holistic yes and a no, as I learned from Elizabeth Gilbert, a no and I love you. Or just a simple no thank you. And saying that really from a place and allowing that to be a full sentence. So today we're going to talk about ways in which you can say yes to yourself. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I've recently been saying yes to myself unapologetically and how the blessings and the lessons and the adventures have just kind of unfolded. So when you're ready, let's take a big inhale through our nose. And sigh it out. Let it go. Once more again here. Y'all know I like to breathe together as a community. Inhale through your nose. Sigh it out. Let it go. Okay. I'm going to tell y'all something about most recently that I just got to experience where I was like, yes, I'm saying yes to myself, and how thrilling. So about a month ago, I got COVID for the first time after like 2.5 years of evading it like grass. It got me. And it took me down to a place where I was just emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted, and I just was like it didn't bode well for me, which I don't think it really bodes well for anybody, but it was really something where I felt really isolated, really alone, and it was just a tough time. But before I'd gotten COVID, I'd had a plan to do something with someone, with a friend, just kind of like as a part of a community thing that she was doing. And then I got an opportunity to do something that I really, again, wanting to be doing in alignment with me saying yes, in alignment with my Joy for Life purpose, creating this event for Soho friends, like really creating this wellness event, wellness experience for Soho friends, which is a part of the Soho House brand. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, an opportunity to really create on my own terms, do my own thing, and really just, again, move from this place of like joy, life, love, and all the in between. And I get to curate this for myself. So I had to tell my friend, and I wanted to tell my friend, I was like, again, thank you so much for this opportunity, for inviting me to be a part of this. But I unfortunately can't be a part of what you had planned because this amazing opportunity came up where I want to say yes to it, right? I don't want to say no. And really forming it in that language, right? Which can kind of come off a little like, they felt some type of way, which is like, okay, fair. But it was something where it was like, listen, that wasn't my intention, right? Normally I would have been like, all right, well, I said I was going to do this. Once again, I'm choosing to say yes to someone else to do something. And that means that I'm saying no to myself. So I said, you know what? Hopefully this isn't taken personally. It's just an opportunity for me to continue my brand and to move in the right direction that aligns best for me, right? Again, like my intention is never to hurt anyone, but it is what it is. So I ended up getting COVID though. And I really started to question like, God, what if I would have said yes and just would have kept the original yes? Maybe I wouldn't have gotten COVID, which is like ridiculous, right? Like that's just silly. But we get all of these thoughts. We make up all of these. And what I'm learning now through my book, Forgiveness for Good, we create all these grievance stories and we make up all of these things that's just like not true. I got COVID. I was outside and that's what happened, right? This is just the world we live in. So fast forward a month later, my contact at Soho Friends reached out and said, hey, Erewhon, which is a market here not just only in, I guess it's primarily in Southern California, but it's a really amazing market with amazing, delicious food and drinks. And it's an adventure, right? And so she said, Erewhon wants to do the wellness event that we had planned, but we had to cancel when you got COVID. And I was like, and she said, would you be interested? And I said, absolutely. Full body yes. Full body yes. Because I was really excited about growing the partnership with Soho Friends. And then 2, the fact that like this wellness event, I really was very much looking forward to offering. But 3, Erewhon has been a place where I talked about that in the event that I hosted recently about how it's been part of this worthiness, me saying yes to myself journey. So it's all gonna tie together, but in a moment. So I was like, yes, absolutely. So put this plan together, and it actually turned out that I'm glad we waited until doing it on August 20th because my beautiful friend Jamie, who's an amazing sound healer, was able to join me in the experience, right? The other one kind of came together really like fast, and I wasn't able to have a sound healer be a part of it, but this time it was like Jamie said yes, she was available. So I was like, yes, it's all in alignment. It's all full body yes, and it's all perfect. So then I reached out to Jamie. She said yes. I got to have a friend, Jenna, be a DJ, a part of the experience too. So again, everything works out the way that it's supposed to when you, from a beautiful, loving, forgiving, honest place, say yes to yourself and no to things that are no longer in alignment, that you maybe had the best intentions of being part of, but however, it's not the case any longer. And that's part of the forgiveness that I talk about too, forgiving the fact that like, you know what, like I want to be able to do things that best move the needle for me to operate in my greatness. And that means saying yes to myself. And if that means saying no to someone else and they get their feelings hurt or whatever, you can only ask for forgiveness. And if they choose to move however they move, that's on them. That means you let it go. You've kept your side of the street clean, and that's it. So I was really excited about the event. It happened, and y'all, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was so great to be able to come together, bring people together, as a part of this collaboration, as a part of like with this market who had just been kind of part of me ushering in this like worthiness, healing, forgiveness place. So I don't know if you listened to the podcast episode prior to where I talk about how we sometimes count ourselves out, don't even allow ourselves to be at the table, let alone pull up a seat at the table based off of what other people think, right? So Erewhon, like I mentioned, is a beautiful market, organic, like, just everything in there is really handpicked. They're very particular about the brands that they carry. So if you can kind of surmise in your brain, that might add a little bit cost to it, right? So some people are like, Erewhon is so expensive. It's so expensive. And they would add for no reason, all these other things. So people had all their whole pre-biases, their own notions about this market. So for a long time, I counted myself out of someone who was not worthy enough and who could never afford to shop there. So I never went. And then I went one time and I was like, okay, so I'm getting a smoothie. The smoothie costs what it costs, but guess what? We live in Los Angeles. Everything is expensive here, so it doesn't even really matter where you go. And I went again and I was like, okay, so they have this amazing hot food bar and salad bar. And it's all really delicious, fresh foods. And I'm looking at the price. It's like, yeah, it's not $10, but what is? Fast food? No, I'd rather spend an extra $5 or $7 to get something that's going to make me feel really good, going to make me, again, be in alignment with living in my greatness each and every day. So I kept going back and I kept going back. And I paused for a moment one day when I was in the parking lot. I just walked out of Erewhon and I was like, why did I listen to other people again? Why was I counting myself out of doing something that I wasn't even sure about, but I was listening to other people? And if you could raise both hands, how many times again you've counted yourself out from not going on that trip? You said no to yourself about I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to do that because someone else said it was expensive. Well, expensive is relative depending on who you're talking to, right? Like some people, yes, $15, $20 for a smoothie is a lot of money. A juice, spending $10, $15 on a juice, $16, $17 on like fresh made soup might be expensive for some people. But to me, it's worth it. It's worth it to me because guess what? I feel really good from the inside out when I'm doing those things, not just because it's what it costs, but because it makes me feel really good. If it was $5 and it gave me the same feeling, then sign me up, right? But I say all that to say that let's stop counting ourselves out. Let's stop blocking ourselves from pulling a seat up to the table when we don't even know what's present based off of what other people think. All right, so let's make that pact here. Secondly, I wanted to go in the fact that this event was exceptional. It was fantastic, met really cool people and was able to guide people through a little bit of movement, some tapping, some shaking, some bouncing, a meditation, some stretches, another meditation, and then Jamie offered a delicious sound bath. It was like a dream come true. Because guess what it was? I was a space holder for people who on a Saturday afternoon decided to choose themselves, decided to say yes to something for their soul, yes to something that was going to fill them up from the inside out. And I got to be a facilitator for that. How amazing. All by saying yes to myself, not discounting myself, not backing myself out, or not even building a seat. Hell, building a table for me to pull up to and bring other people along with me, right? Got to bring and collaborate and work with my friends. And that's really what's been one of my goals for this year has been to collaborate with more people, collaborate with more women in their individual offerings. So we're not all out here on this island doing this stuff alone. So it was a super special event. And that's just kind of, again, building the relationship, building the partnership to do more of that for more people. So y'all stay tuned for the next one. Okay, so moving through, saying yes authentically to yourself, and then knowing the power of saying yes to yourself, and then also knowing the power of saying no to people, things, and maybe saying even no to yourself to back away from something that's no longer serving you, yeah? So the next thing I want to talk about is, I don't know if I've had a chance to share this with you all just yet, But I bought a new car. Y'all. It's a beautiful 2018 Ford Edge SUV. And I've had my old car, my old Toyota Corolla, since 2011. When I moved to Los Angeles, I bought that car. And I'm going to be honest, it wasn't really the first car that I wanted. I wanted something that was like, I think I wanted a Mini Cooper at the time. And a Jeep Wrangler has always been my dream car. It still is to this day. Jeep Wrangler, my dream car. But a few people in my life at the time were like, get something that's practical. You're going to be driving a lot. Get something that's practical on gas mileage, blah, blah, blah. Yet again, listening to what other people deciding for me, I didn't get the car that I wanted. I got something that was practical. And later on, I was like talking to a friend, like when I was like telling him about the whole process of me buying that car. He was like, why were you practical? You didn't have kids. You weren't married. You have a house. You have a mortgage. You weren't having to pay for private school tuition. Why were you being practical? You're single. Get whatever you want to get. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. Now, I mean, in hindsight, absolutely, I would have gotten my Jeep Wrangler, no matter how impractical it was, how terrible the gas mileage would have been on at that time. It wouldn't have mattered, but I would have been happy because guess what? I would have said yes to myself and yes to my heart and yes to what I wanted. So I kept that car for I kept the Toyota Corolla for 11 years, y'all. It had 285,000 miles plus on it when I sent that thing packing. Now, it had been with me and we'd been through some things, all right? And I was super grateful for it and I paid it off years ago. But it just started to make these sounds earlier this year. It started having this like really weird, actually not even earlier this year, like last year. It started making these sounds and I just stayed in it, y'all. I was just riding around in this car that wasn't even like energetically aligned with me any longer. It never really was, but it worked when it worked, right? It was making these sounds. I was embarrassed pulling up to places with it. And I was just like, this isn't even me anymore. Why am I in this car? Listening to other people, right now, just like you don't have a car payment. So, why add that expense? Okay, fair. Oh, you can go get it fixed and then have it for a little bit longer. Okay, that would be me investing more money into something that I never really wanted in the first place. Pass. So again, I just stayed, which was like a pattern for me in my life, just staying in something that no longer served me, staying in something that didn't fuel me anymore. And I was like, why am I doing this now? And it got to the point about a month ago, like it was the first weekend of July when we went to go look at cars, and I got into a breaking point. I was talking to a friend and I just started to cry because I was like, I need a new car. This car is not me anymore. It doesn't fit anything that I need to fit in there. It makes these terrible sounds. I'm embarrassed by it, driving around, pulling up places. It's just like energetically, it just was I was done. And he was like, alrighty. Right then and there on the phone, he and I start looking up links. He sends me a link. He's like, a couple links. He's like, oh, this car is at Sunrise Ford, which is like right around the corner from where I live. And I was like, oh, okay. So looked at it. I was like, oh, cool. Okay. All right, we're getting an SUV. And I was like, okay, awesome. And so we're looking at it and I call and I sent a message and then they call me back and I said, I'm a ready buyer. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get a car. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. This is on a Saturday, 4th of July weekend. And they were like, okay, we'll see you on Sunday. So we went in there on Sunday and I was like, I called yesterday about the Ford Edge. And they were like, okay, alrighty. And so it took them forever to find it. And I was like, all right, weird. Okay. And then 2, they couldn't find the keys for the car that we originally acquired about. So I was like, okay, weird. I was like, okay, well, while they figure that out, I'm going to step in and go to the restroom and come back out and we'll go from there. We'll see what happens. And so I come back out and there's a silver one that they'd found. And I was like, oh, this is silver. And they were like, yeah, you can look at this one until we find the keys for the other one. I know that you inquired about the white one, but we can't find the keys, whatever. And I was like, I like the silver one, right? I was like, okay. They were like, it's a couple $100 more, but it's less mileage on it. It's never been in an accident. And I was like, okay. And I looked at it and I was like, all right. And they were like, well, we have the white one that you originally inquired about up on the top deck. So do you want to go see it? And I said, yeah, let's go take a look at it. So we drove the silver one up as soon as I got in, and I was like, this is my car. This is my car. I went up and I looked at the white one and I was like, no, the silver one's my car. They were like, are you sure we can find? I was like, no, that's it. Because the fact of the matter is you weren't able to find the keys. That means it wasn't for me. So why was I, and the fact that I was a little apprehensive because I was like, oh, it's been in an accident. But again, I was like, well, it's what I can afford. So let me just take what I can afford. I was hesitant about that. So again, God, the universe, soul, my spirit guys acting in my highest favor was like, we told you, we got you. You're going to get the one that you're supposed to have. I wasn't supposed to have that white one. I was supposed to have the silver one. And I was like, all right, so this is it. Let's get going. So we went down, got the paperwork going and asked me all the questions that they needed to ask. And then that was it. Like a 15, 20-minute process, y'all. I said, they were like, congratulations, this is your new car. And I was like, wait, that's it? That's it? They were like, yeah, that's it. I was like, oh. And my chin started to quiver. I was sitting with my friend who came with me to just kind of help me, get everything in order and just have support. As he does often. And so I said, oh. He was like, go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom. Because he knew I was about to start to cry. And I was about to cry. And I cried. And I went in the bathroom. I cried. And I sat in there for 15 minutes. Because I thought about how many times in my life have I been counting myself out based on what other people think. I thought this process of buying a car was going to be so arduous because the first time I bought a car, it wasn't as smooth. I was also with somebody at the time that didn't know which way he was coming and going. So that also didn't help the process either. But we were both just kind of figuring it out at the time. So what stood out to me during this whole process was I asked for help with someone who I knew could help me. And he said, yes, I'm here for you. Went in and it was not an arduous process. I just continued, said yes. I followed my gut. I followed my intuition. And I just kept moving in alignment with what my intuition was telling me yes to do. I'm sitting in this restroom at the car dealership crying 15 minutes because it was like, I'm no longer going to say no to myself. I'm no longer counting myself out from things and trips and opportunities and things and presents and, just the elevation for me to live in my greatness. I'm no longer counting myself out based on what other people think. And I don't want y'all to do it anymore either. If you're questioning whether or not you're worthy to have a new car, if you're questioning whether or not you are worthy to have a new place, a nice house where you feel safe. I feel safe in this car that I have now. Like the other car, I was just like, I didn't know if it was going to break down on me or what. I would have to rent cars to go long distances and do certain things. And it was just like, I didn't want to do that anymore. And for this car, it is just like the full embodiment of the alignment and the evolution, the way in which I'm going, the thread that I'm following to live in my greatness every single day. So that's what my car, her name is aptly called Joy, is allowing me to do. I said yes to myself. I didn't discount myself out. I assumed I made this whole big story up in my head that wasn't even true. It didn't even take all that. It was like the smoothest process. We were there all day only because they couldn't find the keys for the other car and all of these sort of things, right? But it was like, we are ready. I was ready. And when you say yes, you understand that the universe and God is already working in your favor. So it's just up to you, y'all, to say yes to yourself, to say yes to the things that are going to bring you joy, that are going to say, you know what? Yeah, yeah, that I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to say no to this. This might upset people. I don't know, but what's more important? Not upsetting other people or not living in your truth, not moving in your heart, not moving in your heart space, not moving in your full authenticity, not the full body yes. For me, it's more important the full body yes for myself, because for most of my life, I took myself as a priority, a last priority, the last to consider, the last to say yes to, and no longer. And so that's been me saying yes to myself, has afforded me this life of abundance and beauty and joy that I can just have. That's just been dreams, and that's just been actualized. And I'm excited. And doing this podcast is all a part of that. So I want to thank y'all so much for being here. So before we get out of here, y'all already know y'all are going to have a little bit of homework. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to I want you to take a second to tap into a few moments of reflection. Even if it means like literally tapping, soft tapping on your heart space. Tapping on your Anahata chakra. Yeah, maybe that'll kind of help, almost like a drum. Your heart is awake, your heart is breathing, your heart is alive. It's undefended, it's unbounded, it's free flowing. So you're tapping on your heart here, yeah? Taking this moment. Are you moving from a place of full body yes? Are you moving from a place of full body yes? If no, why? Why? If yes, keep going. And following that, if no, why? And here's some things I'm going to charge you to think of, to challenge you to think about, in that you are already choosing yourself. You're already saying yes. So keeping this going. Take a moment of reflection here now. Time to choose you, friends. Time to say yes fully to yourself. Moments of reflection. We're going to make a mental list. And then you're going to go back and you're going to grab your piece of paper and your journal and you're going to make your full list. So my list, just the top of my brain after my meditation this morning, moments of reflection for me. Buying my Brentwood home bed that I have been pawing over and drooling over for like 3 years before I said yes to buying it for myself. Buying an air purifier, the one that I really wanted, not the last one that they had on the shelves that, because it was pandemic and everybody was buying air purifiers. Really buying a nice air purifier because it's the one I've been wanting and pieing over, and buying it for myself because guess what? It's going to help me breathe better, and which means breathing better, a better life experience. Erewhon membership. Yep. I became a member. I'm a part of the cult, which is fine for me, right? I'm fine with that. Saying yes to myself because I like it there. It feels good. I feel happy when I go there. It brings me joy. The people who work there are lovely, lovely human beings. And so it's always super fun. Monthly classes, nervous reset classes, nervous reset coach, personal trainer, going to see Dr. Mitra, which we've talked about. All moments of reflection for me that were top of my brain that are like tangible items. Yeah, tangible items. But I'm also going to bring back the saying yes to myself in certain things, stepping away from a relationship that no longer served me, resigning from a job where I was no longer giving my best and they could tell. So it was time for me to step away so someone else could come in and have their dream actualized like mine was 7 years ago when I joined that amazing company and the amazing team. So stepping away from that, choosing to invest in my beautiful loft where I've lived, but putting my art up, putting my degrees up, making spaces, buying plants, just making sure spaces that feel good wherever I am, I feel good doing it. Buying really lovely sheets and it turning into this delicious partnership with them. So again, you take your list, and I could go on and on and on and on and on. Of course, my yoga practice, my meditation, my Reiki training, all of those sort of things are all ways in which I've said full body yes to myself. And again, there's no time limit. You're never too late to say yes to yourself. So, y'all, that's it. That's your homework. Making your list. Keep it going. Making it so long that you run out of pen, you run out of paper, and you got to get another journal. You got to get another book. And if you're finding that it's a little challenging to say yes to yourself or come up with your list, send me a note. Again, on Instagram, I'm Ace Yoga LA. You can also head to the website, aceyogala.com. You can send us an email, info@aceyogala.com, and we will help guide you. We will help charge you. We will help fill you up. But I promise you, you have been ready to say yes to yourself. Now is the time. No longer are we holding back. Playing small is boring. So again, say yes to yourself. I want to hear your list. I want to hear from you, all right? And so until next time, my beautiful friends, love your life. I love it here. Life is beautiful, and it's made up of all these delicious experiences. And I can't wait to hear how the experiences continue to unfold for you. So thank you. Love you. Bye. Should we pause for a second? Because that's not going to stop. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. I just wanted to get to a stopping place where, okay. Yeah. Okay, you got it? Because y'all can hear the meows and the scratching.
I can't hear it on the microphone or anything, but
it's not going to stop. Yeah.
But I find it endearing. So
come on.
You made me out there. I was inviting you guys all outside.
He was. You're such a Southern gentleman. That's hilarious. I kind of love that as a blooper, Sam. Maybe we can do some bloopers. It's like Reggie, again, making himself in. So